It's funny because, half the way that I got into trouble in the first place in regards to this, where she says the sluttiest, sexiest thing a man can do is decisively reject right wing and manosphere red pill ideology in favor of empathy, kindness, and moral conviction. Well, half of the battles that I've gotten in with the opposite sex that have made me into the frustrated ally that I've turned into have been situations where I understand that she's not really like an avatar that represents the rest of women, but it was just one individual who I was trying to express empathy towards and who took it like the completely wrong way and with, you know, it just twisted it out of complete proportion to what was actually trying to be said in the most uncharitable way possible and imaginable. I mean, I'm not blaming women broadly. I'm just blaming the individual who did this to me and everything and said this crap to me, the girl in question, and twisted it in that direction. I'm like, what the fuck is up with this moodiness, anyways, and this tendency to read things in this manner? Because all I was trying to say really is that I I see what women are going through, in the wake of Roe being overturned, and it's the empathy is painful. I don't really enjoy it. I don't like the fact that I have all these feelings and everything because of the fact that these women are suffering in this capacity, and I realized on some level that I'm not going to be doing better ultimately unless I can succeed at managing to make things better for the opposite sex, because that it's going to haunt me. It's going to constantly be bothering me. I realize that there's some intrinsic aspect to this where I just don't want to see them in this position where they're bleeding out in their cars and everything else. That means that unless me and everybody else can team up and find some way to make this better and ameliorate this situation, I'm probably not going to cheer up in this capacity, because it's intrinsically linked to how women are doing as a group. I mean, I embrace empathy, I embrace kindness and moral conviction, and Planned Parenthood still sends me letters because ostensibly they think that I'm likely to donate to them, given my statements and everything that I've said over the years and everything, and done, and the other organizations that I've given money to, like one that I would love to highlight as far as feminist is Jane's Due Process, which fights down in Texas and is on the front lines of the abortion battle. They fight to get pregnant minors with abusive parents, judicial exceptions to having to, be notified that they're seeking an abortion and everything. They're really actually flexing that law and trying to, get it put into practice down there in Texas and everything. And this is definitely an organization that is very pro, like feminist friendly, woman friendly, and everything. But they send me thank you letters for the money that I've sent them and everything, and I apologize for nothing. I would love, impact statements from them so that I know what good I've done and everything by giving to them and such. But there's definitely an embrace of empathy, kindness, and moral conviction here. I don't. I'm left wing. I'm not part of the red pill ideology or any of that shit. The manosphere, broadly speaking, and everything. I've broadly rejected it. I don't really belong to that group of people at all. I'm not part of that in any way, shape, or form. In fact, those people don't like me. I don't like them. There's bad blood going in both directions. There always has been. It's just that I'm not a perfect fucking human being. I was obviously a flawed person before I came to feminism, and I've been trying to be, better to the opposite sex, but, of course I do have my vices. I'm not perfect, I never will be, but I fight, I try. It's important to me. It's important to make a difference for women and everything, because this empathy that I feel, I can't turn it off, and it makes me suffer because they're suffering. and half the reason I even got in those fights in the first place was because I didn't know how to express it in a socially acceptable fashion towards her, or what she wanted to hear, when I expressed it, so it came out in a way that she didn't like, and so she read all over me, in this fashion where she was like, "Oh yeah, you're the real victim here," and everything. When in fact, women have it so much worse because it's like that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm not trying to, to tamp up here on this platform and be like, hey, I'm suffering more than you. I'm the real victim here and everything. I'm just trying to say, we all suffer, and I'm suffering here and everything as well. It's not like it just happens to you and I don't feel anything as a consequence of it happening to you. It happens to you and I feel plenty as a consequence of it happening to you. And I realize that the women that are not able to get abortions in situations where there's like an ectopic pregnancy or whatever are the real, ones that are really the ones that are really suffering in this regard. But just knowing that crap is happening at all has had a dampening, effect on my mood and has made me more prone to misery. Like I'm not happy about any of it, and I realize that unless things get better for women, this is going to keep happening.